Hi, everybody. I'm kind of nervous. I've never done anything like this. But yeah, I'll add a little bit to what you said. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for coming. I didn't think anyone really cared what I had to say, but I'm happy you guys do. I graduated Merrimack in 2015. I was in the honors program. It was the size of this room was probably the entire program when I graduated. It's gotten a ton bigger. But I had a major in communications, minored in Spanish and marketing. I studied abroad in London in the fall of 2013, which was my junior year. It was the best thing I ever did. If you guys studied abroad, I'm sure you agree. And yeah, my honors thesis, my capstone project, if I can be frank, I just didn't want to write a research paper. So I was like, what can I do that's something that I want to put effort in and I feel proud of? And I worked with Jake Turner in the communications department. I don't know if you guys know him at all, but yeah, we tried to figure out something to do. And I said, I was interning at a radio station at the time. And I said, I feel like a lot of colleges have radio stations. Why doesn't Merrimack? So we figured out costs, where we could put it. It was kind of a bummer. It was awesome that I got to implement it. We had to go before some board, I can't think of the name of them right now, presenting our ideas and get it approved, to get the funding for it, purchase the station, get a professor to teach a course on it and things like that. So it ended up being probably a bigger project than writing a research paper would have been, but I'm happy with the result. It was kind of a bummer that I graduated and then the radio station went into effect that fall, so I didn't actually get to enjoy it. And when I left, I thought it was going to be in the basement of the library next, in one of Kevin Salemi's off dark, dirty places, but I got to come back a year later and see the building where it is now, which is awesome. So that was awesome. Then I graduated Merrimack and I started working a week later. I was hired as a marketing assistant at Live Nation Entertainment. If you guys don't know what Live Nation is, they're a concert promoter. If you've bought tickets to a concert, you've dealt with Live Nation. So it was it was a super cool job. It was my dream job. When I couldn't believe my luck when I got it right out of college, and I was thrown right into it. I was working with press, PR, and marketing for shows at Gillette, Fenway, the Xfinity Center, the Blue Hills Bank Pavilion. I was working on site at all the shows, going backstage, all the glamorous stuff, dealing with publicists and managers for my favorite artists. And I couldn't believe, I was this is where I want to stay forever. I can't believe that this happened to me. I ended up working a lot with radio stations and things like that. And then after a couple of years, I started to realize that maybe it wasn't as much of a dream job as it was when I first started. And I started to think about it had become my whole life. And I was getting a little bit more separated from college, and I was thinking I want to be an adult, and I didn't really have any sort of work-life balance. My commute was awful, my hours were awful. Things that when I was graduating college and just wanted a job at whatever means necessary weren't as much of a priority to me. But as I was I want to move out of my parents' house. I can't afford to right now. I want to eventually get engaged and get married, and I want to be able to come home at night to my kids and things that I still can't even fathom at 25, but I was starting to think about it at 23. And so and on top of that, music's always been a passion of mine. I forgot to mention this. I was in Macapella at Merrimack. I don't know if anyone here is in Macapella, but yay if you are. I've been a singer my entire life. Music's been a huge passion of mine. It kind of goes along with the radio station. But merging my kind of hobby and my career together was awesome for a while, until it wasn't. Until I started to kind of see the dark side, quote unquote, of the industry I was working in. I wasn't enjoying it as much anymore. I wasn't able to separate the things my hobbies and my life from my job. And I felt like I could never kind of leave. So for all of those reasons, I started looking for a new job. It was a really scary process. I had never really looked for a new job because when I left college, that was my first one, and I was in college still. So it was a really, really interesting process to go through. It was kind of tough. I had quite a few interviews that didn't go anywhere, quite a few applications that weren't answered, as if any of you are seniors, I'm sure you might deal with. It's okay. And I ended up getting this job at Sentinel, and it was right near my house. The hours were better. The pay was a lot better. The industry is financial planning and retirement plans and benefits. Financial planning and retirement plans and benefits, concerts. Like, kind of a no-brainer, but this, I mean, I've only been there for 3 months, and I am so happy. The people I work with are awesome. My commute's 15 minutes. It used to be an hour. I get home at 5:15. I used to get home at 7:15. I have the weekends free. If I want to go to a concert, I can, but I don't have to work at it. Part of the reason I kind of wanted to talk about that stuff tonight with you guys is because that's very top of mind for me. I just went through a kind of a transition I've never gone through before. I thought that I would be at that job forever. I never thought I'd go through like getting a new one, especially not this soon. Like, I've been out of college for, oh my God, 2015. What year is it? Like, so 3.5 years. I didn't think I'd already be at my second job. But I'm really happy. And I mean, I've only been there for 3 months, but this could be my forever job. And it affords me the life I want to have outside of it, including enjoying music as a hobby again, as a passion again. Oh yeah, I'm now that I'm making a little bit more money, I'm kind of saving. I still live with my parents, full disclosure. I'm trying to save money to move out. I've kind of weighed the options of getting an apartment and renting, or if I can save a little bit longer, if I can stay with my parents a little bit longer, I can get a house. So, like, those are all the things I'm going through right now. I just want to kind of answer any questions you guys have, like brainstorm some things. Like, I was just trying to think about what I might not have been thinking about when I was in your shoes. Like, because obviously, like, rightfully so, your priority is, like, when you graduate, like, get a job or go to grad school. Like, you have this one step and you're not really thinking about all the other things that are involved with it, which you don't have to. Like, my title, I think, like, my, like, stupid kitschy title was, like, figuring it out or not. Like, I am not like, oh my God, I'm 25 and, like, I am set to go for the rest of my life. Like, I'm absolutely not. But, like, who I was when I graduated Merrimack and who I am now are very different people. But every experience I've had up till now has, like, shaped that, including while I was at Merrimack. I think I have anywhere between sophomores and seniors in here, right? Like, what are you guys thinking about? Yeah.
So I recently switched my major from public health to business with a minor, double major business and Spanish, which kind of relates to
Yeah.
So I was just like, I had a career path and like where I wanted to go, and then it kind of switched up on me. So I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to like business or like how that's going to go.
Yeah.
I'm a sophomore, so.
Okay. You got some time. I forgot to mention this because I forgot about it. When I started at Merrimack, I was a criminology major, and I was convinced, have you ever seen Criminal Minds? I was going to be one of those profilers, and then I realized I had to, like, do FBI training and move to, like, Virginia, and there's only, like, 4 of them in the country, and I was like, no, like, dream big, but, like, not that big. So I was like, all right. And also it was a little more pigeonholed, and I was like, I don't know exactly if that's what I want to do. So I changed to communications, had the business minor, and put that all through. I mean, again, you still have time, and it seems like you have kind of a bit of a variety with the business and the Spanish and things like that. But one thing I have noticed, and obviously, like, your classes and your majors, like, those are so key. But when it comes to finding a job, or grad school is a little different, because if you're going to grad school, you're going to be, like, more, you know what you're doing. Like, that's, unless you get, like, an MBA, which is a little bit more versatile. But one thing I've noticed is, like, regardless, and this is, I hope this is, like, helpful, that regardless of your major, your degree, like, you can spin anything to what you want to do. I mean, granted, yeah, could I go and get, like, a surgeon job? No. But, like, communications and marketing and business, like, when I got my comm job, my comm major, I concentrated in mass communication, and so I thought I was going to be like radio, PR, like journalism, any of the things I just said. I mean, I ended up in marketing. I ended up with my minor, but I was able to kind of finagle my experiences, my classes, into the jobs I was applying for. I mean, going from the music industry to the financial industry, to like the benefits industry, was very different. So I had to find ways to kind of take what I had done at Live Nation and apply it to what I could do at Sentinel. There is always a way to take the experience you have and mold it and present it into what that company or what that grad school or anything is looking for. Like, there's definitely ways to do it. So, like, never feel stuck.
Did you do any co-ops or internships in college?
I did a ton, and especially if you guys are younger, like sophomores, could not recommend it more, because it helps you figure out what you do and don't want to do before you're out of college. I did internships in sales, human resources, radio promotion, like just radio. I did an internship in London. I worked at like a dance space. They had like dance classes, but they also like rented out their space for like performances and music videos and things like that. And I just kind of did like various projects and a little bit of social media and writing and marketing. And like I, for a brief time, thought I wanted to go into HR. Hated the HR internship. Like done. Now I don't have to worry about trying to go down that avenue anymore. And it still didn't feel like a waste though, because you get that office experience. We actually have an intern from Merrimack right now at Sentinel. Yeah. Again, I still to this day will tell people that studying abroad was the best thing I ever did in my entire life. I like my mom will actually say that like I came back like a different person. Like I was a little like before I went to London I would never have done anything like this. I'm still a little freaked out doing this right now, but like it forces you out of your comfort zone in like every possible way. And so I really got to kind of immerse myself in seeing what people in a different country live like. Even though it's a country very similar to ours, there are still a lot of differences as well. And it just forces you to be independent. I really wanted to go to Dublin, and none of my friends could go or were able to go, or they were already going at a different time. So I went by myself. I just flew to Dublin. I stayed in a hostel with a room with 23 other people. It was mildly terrifying. I don't think my mom slept the entire time I was there, knowing that I was there by myself. But like I never would have done that had I not been like kind of thrown into that situation. And like I was like, I'm never gonna get this opportunity again. So I grabbed it, and now like I'm able to travel for work, and it's no big deal, and come and talk to you guys. It really like just let me grow up and like become a totally new like best version of myself. So yeah, if you can't tell, I really recommend study abroad if you're thinking about it. If you did it, I feel like again you will agree. And if you didn't study abroad, then travel once you graduate. Like try, like go somewhere.
You said you were a Spanish minor?
Yes.
Have you been able to like use that in your jobs or?
I haven't used it at Sentinel yet. For me, it was more kind of like it would pop up here and there. It was great. It was a great thing to have. Like when I interviewed at Sentinel, you never know it can be a talking point. One of the men that interviewed me in my second round of interviews, he was like, "Oh, like you minored in Spanish?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, my wife is Puerto Rican." I was like, "Okay, are we gonna continue the conversation from there?" Like, no. He just noticed that. But it was something like, "Oh, I remember that girl. She minored in Spanish." So yeah, definitely if you're studying a language, like you never know when it's gonna come up, but it will. So, highly recommend. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about your event planning and like what you do with that?
Yeah, sure. I should probably tell you what Sentinel does. They sell retirement plans and like insurance plans to companies, and they also do financial planning and like wealth management for individuals. So they'll do webinars geared towards those companies, like open enrollment is coming, like how can you best educate your employees, like just educational sessions like that. There's one big educational event they do every year that they did right before I got there, so I'll be involved in the planning of that next year. But then the entertainment events are the ones that are a little more fun, and they're for our sales guys to entertain both clients or prospects, people they want to get business from. So it's just kind of researching the events, like what are some new unique things we can do that will like create a memorable experience for the clients. Vendors, pricing, budgeting, figuring out what we can do within the budget that we're allotted. It's a lot more hands-on than what I was doing at Live Nation, so I'm learning a ton about it, but I like it a lot. I think you had a question.
Yeah. How did you get a job like first week after college? Did you like have connections here?
So I started applying for jobs in like January of my senior year, I think. It was right after Christmas break. And I had my resume ready to go, I had cover letters ready to go, and I just started applying. I started thinking about like kind of vaguely what I wanted to do, but I kept it broad enough that I could kind of send out a lot of applications. Heard back from like maybe 4 of them. Like that, if you haven't started applying yet, if you are going to start applying, like you will get radio silence from so many places. Please do not get discouraged. It happened to me. I got discouraged, but like it's how it is. They're not going to respond. Yeah, I just applied, and I would check every day. I happened to see the Live Nation job on LinkedIn. I check Indeed and like Monster. I would check LinkedIn, and I would check like actual websites of companies that I was interested in. I'd Google like PR companies in Boston or marketing companies in Boston, things like that. So I would check almost every day, and I saw that job on LinkedIn for Live Nation. They took it down in 2 days because they got so many applicants. So like that's a testament to like always check. and I applied, and then I was interning at the radio station at the time. So I asked my boss there if he knew anyone over there. He had some sort of connection. He said he would write me a letter of recommendation and email it to them. So I think that definitely helped probably in me getting an interview. And I know you probably hear, I want to add to that, I know you probably hear tons about networking and your connections, and that is all extremely, extremely important. But what I wish I had remembered back then is please don't let that think that you can't do it on your own. You're like, I definitely think that having that connection at the radio station helped me get an interview, but they didn't help me get the job. So like, don't like downgrade yourself. Like, you guys are fully capable of getting a job. Might need a little help getting that. Like, they're going to see tons of resumes. Having a connection, having a friend of a friend, someone who knows someone, will definitely help like push your resume out. But like, then it's on you.
Did you do your internships during the summer or was it
Both. I did a couple in the summer. The ones I did before London were in the summer, and then I did the radio station one the following summer, which turned into a part-time job, which was like kind of still an internship, but I did that during the fall of my senior year. Because of my major and 2 minors, I usually had like a big enough course load that I couldn't fit an internship in there. So I would keep mine to the summer. But if you're able to fit it into your course load and do one for credit, absolutely, that's awesome, because you have more time because you're not taking as many classes. Like, that's what our intern now is doing.
Do you have any like tips about how to start thinking about paying for loans?
Absolutely, yeah. That's something that I feel like I haven't touched on yet, is like the whole financial thing. And like, again, I am not living in my own fancy house with no loans left. I'm gonna brag for a minute. Almost done paying my loans off. I'm almost done. And that was because when I was at Merrimack, I applied for a bunch of like random little scholarships and things like that. I had a little bit of help from my family, but I also paid a good chunk of it on my own. But I saved, and this is just a unique case, I saved a ton of money before I went to London with those couple internships. Like, every paycheck I got just went into my bank account. And so when I went to London, I had this like big chunk of money. I spent like half of it. And I got back and I said to my parents, I said, hold on to that money. I haven't used it yet, and I don't want to give myself a chance to. So like, I'm not going to miss it. And then when I graduated, I used it to pay off a few of my loans in full. Especially when I got out of school, it sounds so simple, but it's just like creating a budget. Like, when I got this new job, I had kind of more of an income. I realized at Live Nation I hadn't been saving a lot. So now every month I'm like, okay, I save X amount of dollars. X amount of dollars a month is spent towards food. I still live at home, like I said, but my parents have been awesome as far as they basically said, like, you're our kids still, but like, we're going to treat you more like a roommate as opposed to like our child now. So like, I pay for some of our groceries because my mom said, she's like, if you're going to live on your own, you don't want to go from having 0 expenses to suddenly having like, oh shit, I have to pay for this, I have to pay for that. So I pay for some of my groceries, I pay for my own phone bill, things like that. But it's just like taking the income you have. So when I got this new job, I had a new income. So I took what I had, and I took what my, what I like non-negotiable, what I knew I had to spend money on every month, and part of it is my loans. And then I figured out what I had left over, and that makes it a lot more manageable, because it's like, you know, based on your income, you know what you're gonna have to spend money on, and you're gonna cover that. And so as long as you like limit your going out to dinner and drinks and things like that money to X amount a week, like you're never gonna have to worry about affording your loans. Another tip is see if when you're applying to jobs, a lot more companies, more and more now, will offer tuition reimbursement or loan assistance or things like that. Or they'll, like, if you want to take courses, they'll pay towards like grad school courses for you and things like that. That was one thing that Live Nation did that Sentinel does not, and I missed that, and so I milked it while I had it. They introduced a tuition reimbursement program. So Live Nation, that's part of why I'm almost done with my loans, is I would pay X every month and Live Nation would pay X every month. So that was amazing, and a lot of companies will offer that. So that's something to ask about when you're looking. But yeah, I mean, I'm still figuring it out, but budgeting is huge, and it's like a weird, scary word, but it's really, really simple. It's just like figure out what you have to spend money on and what you want to spend money on, and see where you can fit where.
I know this is probably like a while ago, but I'm a freshman, so I was wondering if there's any like recommendations you have, like starting your freshman year in the summer.
I would say maybe like towards starting like maybe this summer, start thinking about, once you've taken a few classes and you kind of know have an idea of what you want to do for your major, or if you start thinking about what you might want to do for a career, start looking at possibilities of internships and things like that. But one thing, especially if you're a freshman, but for anyone, going back to connections, like take any connections that you can, like rely on your professors. I was just telling Lisa before we started, I had a professor in comm. He's not here anymore. He teaches in Idaho now, but he taught a class to all the communications seniors about like kind of moving into the real world and getting a job and things like that. And he's remained a connection. And when I was getting this new job, I was emailing him back and forth asking for tips for interviewing and just explaining my situation. I was like, I'm not making enough money. I want to move out, like, but I'm afraid to leave. What can I do? Like, I had this guy as a professor like 4 years ago, you know, but he's still willing to help. Like, your professors are, for them, I'm sure you have a couple that like, yeah, right, I don't want to ever talk to you again. But like, there's so many of them, especially here at Merrimack, that are like great connections. So like, just look for any opportunity you can to like make those connections and just start thinking. Like, you have plenty of time. Like, I don't want you to worry about like I have to have an internship like right now, but like just start thinking about it. Start just doing some basic research and like see if anything like appeals to you. Like, oh, that might be interesting to look into. Like, you have a little bit of like leisure time to kind of do that. So just like start thinking about it, start looking at it. I don't think you have to take any like action steps just yet. Like, enjoy assimilating to college first, you know.
You mentioned a little bit about grad school, but have you found that, like, I feel like every year it's like there's more pressure to actually go to grad school, like directly from college and right into it. Have you found
Absolutely.
that, like, applying to jobs and in your industry in specific that people really care necessarily about it, or is it more of like what you present yourself as and your skills?
Absolutely. There are definitely some jobs in some industries that you have to go to grad school. And it's just like education. You need a master's in education, like within like 5 years of teaching or something like that. Like law, medical school, all those things. And then some business areas require you to have an MBA. And I think the reason grad school was pushed is obviously because Merrimack offers grad programs, but also because you're so used to going to school. So it's the easiest to just go right out of there and like just get it done. But I found that it was like not an issue at all, because a lot of what I was doing was, a lot of what I was going for was entry level. So they're not expecting you to have a master's degree yet. Similar to the loans, a lot more companies than even the ones that will do tuition reimbursement will pay. Like, I know Sentinel does that. They'll pay towards courses if it'll improve your job. So if you're not like dead set on like, I know this is exactly what I want to do and I want to go to grad school and I want to get this degree, see if you can find a job that will help you do it. But I would say if it's something that you're strongly considering, it's probably going to be a lot easier for you to go, because then you can defer your undergrad loans. That's a big thing. And you just kind of get the schooling done. If you're thinking about it, I would say do it soon. If you're trying to think about if you can get by without it, you probably can, especially in marketing, especially in communications, unless it's something like really, really specialized and really high up, which again, that might be something that in that case you might be able to go back to a few years later if your company's willing to help out for that.
Did you find that being in the honors program in college helped you through your interviews, or was it mentioned a lot, or was it just kind of overlooked?
It's something good to put on your resume, absolutely. Like I said, the honors program was not nearly as big when I was there, but if you're in the honors program, you obviously have a pretty good GPA. Putting that on your resume that was something that even at Sentinel people talked about. I'm like, I had that GPA 4 years ago, but I'm glad you're still impressed by it. Being able to put it on your resume, your capstones and your thesis projects, like that was, I had a whole section of my resume for that radio project. It's a talking point. So whatever you do decide to, do they still do that, the honors program? They have to do that big capstone project. Make sure it's A, something you enjoy doing, because you're gonna be working on it for a while, and B, something you'll be proud of to talk about, because that will definitely be a talking point in interviews, because it's like a big project that you did and like you can stake a claim to, whether like you researched something or you implemented something or you worked towards something. I don't know, anything. It's definitely a big talking point. And I think, you guys are all honor students, like I can say it. I feel like you go the extra mile. Like, you make those connections with your professors, so they're willing to like go to bat for you or to help you off hours and things like that. Especially the honors classes, like use those connections. Go that extra mile. Like, especially if they see that you're willing to kind of do a little bit of extra work, they're totally gonna be willing to help you. Like, they want to see you succeed too. So yeah, definitely use all the resources you have, whether it's in the honors program. You guys have way more resources than I had when I was here, and it's definitely like, stay in the honors program. It's gonna help you. I think it helped me. whatever you end up deciding to do, like, it's everyone's journey is different. To get a little spiritual on you guys, and again, like my whole thing was about like figuring it out. Like, I feel like I have had more life experience than you guys. I've had more experience in the real world than you guys have had so far. I still don't feel like I have it all figured out, but like I'm getting there. But when I graduated, I felt like I was like, okay, like I have to have my life kind of like set out in front of me, and like I still don't totally. But like I'm happy with the way where it's going. Like I feel like I'm on a good path in all aspects to like to have it all figured out. So, but it's okay if you don't. It's okay if you don't right when you graduate. It's okay if you don't a couple years from then. As long as you like what you're doing, like where you're at, and you feel like you're moving towards having it figured out.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, I hope. Thank you guys for having me.